you work closely with Jonathan Haidt, and he's just released his new book, The Anxious Generation. And in that, he prescribes that all under 16s should not have any access to internet-connected devices. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, if it was my child, it would be even later, I think.
Okay.
Well, I just think of me at 16, I was still so vulnerable and insecure and anxious. So yeah, I fully agree with that, but I think that's the limit we can set while understanding, this is pervasive, it's everywhere. It's quite hard to cut a child off or a teenager off. But I think if we can get people to stay off of social media platforms until 18, I think would be where I would put it at the earliest, because I think, again, that period of life is so vulnerable and insecure anyway. And that's what these platforms are going after. And also, I feel like that's the stage of life where you do form your schema for the world. So usually we'll have beliefs that go back to like when we were 15 and something kind of really visceral happened. And then you can be 25 and you can finally start to kind of rationalize yourself out of it. But at that age, it's like everything that happens to you kind of becomes how you see the world.
Do you not think that stance is one of a Luddite that's opposed to all this new technology?
Yeah.
And it's actually a bit restrictive, because I look at my own life and I completely agree with you and Jonathan on almost everything you say.
Yeah.
But what I've been able to achieve so far, everything I've done, the career I've built up, being able to move away from home age 18, everything, it's because of social media. It's because of being able to look at actually good role models. When I've grown up, like 50% of the UK do almost, with divorced parents, I've been able to seek out good male role models online that have guided me to understand myself more, be more of a moral person, and really question things. Without social media and YouTube and the rest of it, there is no doubt I would not be in the position that I'm in today, age 19.
Yeah. I think you are quite exceptional in a couple of ways. I think there are a lot of people who've found huge benefit from social media. Me as well. I've discovered all of these like authors and writers that I found inspiring, and I've been able to write on Substack where I can talk to people who, in my life I've not met similar-minded people. But it's more, I think there's a difference between, it's kind of the person I'm thinking about in my head, and who I'm thinking about in my head is like maybe me at 18, who was very affected by my parents' divorce and very anxious about relationships in the world. And I feel I'm now having to unlearn some of the stuff I learned online, and also just what it replaced for me. So I often think about how, people say, social media is great for kids because they can meet friends and talk to people. It's like, if you're a shy child, social media is absolutely horrific for you, because it gives you all the convenience and like effortless interaction in the world. You already feel uncomfortable socializing. So you have no incentive to go and force yourself into those situations. And there's so many people on like online forums, on Reddit and stuff, talking about how now they're trying to learn basic social skills at like 26 because they spent all their time online. So I think, again, it just comes down to your individual vulnerabilities. But I think parents really have to think about their child and what it's doing to them. Because I think if you have any kind of anxiety or kind of predisposition to these things, social media will just take it to the inevitable extreme.
I guess you have to weigh it up. Do the negatives outweigh the positives? And at the moment, I'd say yes. But long term, I take a more optimistic approach, and I can imagine a future where people can have access to all this amazing information, especially with divorce rates only ever increasing. It's going to be needed more for people to have these role models online and people that they can go to. But the tricky question is, how do they filter for those people? How do they not get pulled into the algorithm with Andrew Tate and self-harm content?
Yeah, it's really difficult, because it's like, some people will say to me, there's really lonely young children who like depend on these online communities, which is a compelling argument. But then it's like, there's also people who are depending on these online communities who aren't then creating real communities or joining them or fueling them. And so it's like, I really struggle with the solutions to some of these things being online. Like, your parents are divorced, but you can find role models online. It's like, I think that's an indictment of where we are, really. You should have role models in your life. And the worry is we then depend on the digital fix to it, rather than using our energy to be like, okay, how do we help children who have had a family breakdown, and build community in real life, rather than saying to them, oh, well, at least you have Instagram.
Can the two not work in synergy? Can we not build up both?
I think you can, but again, it's down to the individual person where, I was really shy when I was younger, and having like an online community would be way too much of a pull, to the point where I'd probably not go to sleepovers or like come home from school and just talk to people online. That would have been way more inviting to me than trying, which can work when you're young and like maybe your parents do look at you and think, oh, it's nice, she's got friends online or whatever. But then you get to 25 and it's like you've missed out on like 5 years of practicing your social skills.
We've alluded to it earlier, but I want to speak a bit about this culture of victimhood. And it feels like life at the moment is just a race to acknowledge your privilege when you win and blame yourself being a victim when you lose.
Yeah.
How does this tie into everything we've talked about already?